Of course, arresting the president of Russia is not easy, it's not a joke, but the fact of the matter is that widely the world looks at him as somebody who's broken the law, somebody who's a criminal. And suddenly you have the world's second richest country, China, and the second biggest military, USSR, both together wanting to plug themselves, wanting to plug themselves into this North Korean state or North Korean system. Countries, North Korea, Iran, Russia and China. Is this the so-called new axis that the world has to face? Jai Hind friends, I'm Major Gaurav Arya and you're watching the Chanakya Dialogues English. Like this video, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to press the bell icon. Why does Vladimir Putin suddenly decide to go to North Korea and call Kim Jong Un Comrade Kim? After 24 years. And Vladimir Putin has been head of state for quite some time now. He's in fact amongst the longest serving heads of state in the world. Why did he suddenly decide to go to North Korea? Now, there was a huge parade to welcome him. There was great pomp and show, typical North Korean style, children waving flags. And Putin lands there. And when he lands, he makes quite the impression and he's being welcomed. And of course, North Korea is ecstatic because nobody goes to North Korea. It's called the Hermit Kingdom for a reason. Nobody goes to North Korea. I don't know the last time when a head of state was welcomed to North Korea. But Putin was, of course, the VVIP there. And Vladimir Putin made certain comments and he says that we are brotherly countries. And he said that I admire the way the North Korean people have stood up to sanctions, and there is a conspiracy against Russia, as there is a conspiracy against North Korea, and because we want to live life independently on our terms, the West does not like us, etc., etc. There was this entire propaganda machinery at work. What has made Putin so desperate that he has to go to a country like North Korea? First of all, the International Court of Justice has a warrant for the arrest of Vladimir Putin. And there are signatories who are bound to arrest him if he goes to their country. So Putin has decided not to move anywhere. He was last seen in Beijing. He went to Beijing. But after that, he's not gone to any country. He came to India a long time back, a few years back. But after that, he's not been anywhere. There is almost like a lookout circular against Putin. Of course, arresting the president of Russia is not easy. It's not a joke. But the fact of the matter is that widely the world looks at him as somebody who's broken the law, somebody who's a criminal. You can have a different opinion about this, absolutely. What I'm about to say, you may agree or disagree with the fact that what Putin did was actually not so much worse than what the Americans have done all the while, or what the Europeans have done. It's not that he did something out of the way. Big powers do that. America does that. America has done it very frequently. In fact, what Vladimir Putin did in Ukraine is not even 1/10 of what America did after 9/11. But then the Americans make their own rules and Vladimir Putin went to North Korea. Now, there is an entire philosophy behind it. But let me tell you my analysis. And it's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. What's happened is that after the Russia-Ukraine war, Russia has been pushed into a corner. The world has largely decided to side with Ukraine. So that's one part of it. The world has decided to side with Ukraine. The world says that, okay, this is the wronged party. This is the aggrieved party. Russia has captured 20 to 25% of Ukraine's territory. This was a war that was unprovoked. So it is not so much the act of the war, but the fact that it was unprovoked and the fact that Ukraine is actually Eastern Europe. This has rattled the West. This has rattled the great powers. That how can Russia do this? I mean, if Russia swallows up Ukraine, who's next? Will Russia reach France, Germany and UK? Will Russia reach Finland and Sweden? Is that a possibility? Because Russia and Finland are not very far away, they're neighbors. Having isolated Russia diplomatically, and the latest example is that summit that happened in Switzerland, that peace summit in which more than 90 countries attended. Now that's a shame, isn't it? 90 countries attending a peace summit that was supposed to find a roadmap to peace between Russia and Ukraine. This entire summit was in Switzerland. It was led by Ukraine, but Russia was not invited. And they have had maybe half a dozen such summits in the recent past. Maybe half a dozen such summits. And in none of the summits did anybody think fit to invite Russia. How would such a summit work? Now, what has happened is that when you pushed Russia into the corner, something very dangerous happened. Russia and China, who were at one time adversaries, became good friends. China is also feeling isolated. The Western powers are slowly but surely trying to isolate China. And China feels isolated. But China is not actually isolated because China is plugged into global supply chains. You can't isolate China. China is simply too important, at least as far as manufacturing is concerned and global trade is concerned. You can't isolate China. Everything that the Americans consume, that the Europeans consume, is made in China actually, or mostly made in China. So what happens? There is China on top and Russia links in. So Russia is linked into China. Then suddenly you have Iran linking into China. So you have Russia, you have China, you have Iran, and suddenly North Korea. North Korea is supposed to be a rogue nuclear power that pretty much follows China's directions. That pretty much follows what China, wants. They don't question China too much because they also require a big brother who would support them diplomatically, and that big brother for the North Koreans are the Chinese. There is nobody else who's going to talk to the North Koreans, but suddenly the heavens open up and Russia falls through, and then suddenly there are two big powers in the world. One economic and the other military. In fact, the Russian military is supposed to be the second strongest military in the world after the United States. And suddenly you have the world's second richest country, China, and the second biggest military, USSR, both together wanting to plug themselves into this North Korean state or North Korean system. I don't think North Korea has had it so good in the past 4-5 decades. But where does this push the world to? This Vladimir Putin saying that together we will face the Americans, we'll face their satellite countries, and we're going to fight back together, and Comrade Kim and all that, this bonhomie that you see, this brotherhood that you see between the Russians and the North Koreans, where is it going? So here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, Iran is a near nuclear power. A lot of people say that Iran actually has cracked this fission and fusion, and Iran has the capability to make nuclear weapons. So let us, for the sake of our conversation, consider Iran to be a nuclear weapon state, just for the sake of academics, hypothetically, or our conversation. North Korea is already a nuclear weapon state. China is a nuclear weapon state. Russia is a nuclear weapon state. In fact, 90% of the nuclear weapons in the world are divided between the Americans and the Russians. That is the number of nuclear weapons. In their thousands, they have nuclear weapons. So everybody plugs into China, and China plugs into everybody. Then there is this case of Pakistan, which is absolutely useless because Pakistan cannot be trusted. Even the Chinese don't trust Pakistanis. Nobody trusts the Pakistanis because the Pakistanis will fall wherever they see dollars. They might say that China and Pakistan are iron brothers, but the fact of the matter is one IMF loan is all that it takes to sway Pakistani public opinion and the Pakistani government. They'll go to whoever gives them money. So 4 countries, North Korea, Iran, Russia, and China. Is this the so-called new axis that the world has to face? Are these the powers that will get into some sort of an agreement that if, let us say, Russia is attacked, China will pitch in, Iran will pitch in, and North Korea will pitch in? How do you think, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to go forward? I'd like you to write in the comments section. I'd like you to explain to us what you think about this. Do you think it was wrong for the West to isolate Russia completely? Do you think it was wrong for the West to supply so many weapons and give hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine just because somebody sitting up there with a Cold War mindset, or a bunch of old guys with the Cold War mindset, wanted to break Russia? Because Russia is not going to break. And I hold Russia at fault for invading Ukraine. Whatever the reasons, and I think the reasons are genuine. This fear of NATO coming at their doorstep is genuine. But at the same time, in today's day and age, you can't go around invading countries. You don't do that. Plus the fact that when they were speaking about peace, the Russians were adamant, whatever we have taken from the Ukrainians, we are not returning that. So 20 to 25% of Ukraine will now forever be Russian territory. That's what the Russians want. The second part that they want for peace with Ukraine is that Ukraine should give them the assurance that they will never seek to be members of NATO. So ladies and gentlemen, today we are caught in a particular sort of a stalemate in which there are people who have that Cold War mindset, who keep on pushing Russia. Then there is Vladimir Putin, who has ambitions of its own. He's looking at some old Russian empire. Not even the Soviet Union, that's what many experts say. He's not looking to recreate the Soviet Union, he's looking to recreate the Russian Empire in all its medieval glory. That is what Putin wants. That's what many Russia watchers claim. I don't know the truth, but that is what many Russia watchers claim. So how is it going to be for countries? What happens in case, let's say, China invades Taiwan? What is going to be the role of all these countries? Where does Iran stand in that? This is something that will be, a point for discussion for many years to come, because this is a path-breaking, a groundbreaking event, Vladimir Putin in North Korea. I never thought it would happen, but it has happened. Now, ladies and gentlemen, for the question and answers. Sundaresan, he says, Jai Hind Major, Jai Hind Sundaresan ji. There is news that CIA has made notorious gangster Dawood Ibrahim as one of its prime assets in Pakistan. Earlier we noticed that Gurpatan Singh Pannu was made their asset. What all dubious people CIA has as assets? Why are they having all terrorists of India as their assets? Look like US itself want to instigate terror in India. What are your views about it? So first of all, Sundaresan ji, I do not know about Dawood Ibrahim, being a CIA asset. I'm not aware of this news. So I'll not be able to comment. But all intelligence agencies, and please don't ask me to get into details, all intelligence agencies actually have assets in the criminal world. So don't be surprised if some criminal is some intelligence agency's asset. Intelligence agencies are in the business of gathering information, safeguarding the interests of the nation by good means or bad. It does not matter to the intelligence agency. They don't wear a uniform. They are people who are absolutely unknown, faceless. And they do stuff that is beyond the boundaries. Many a time, I'm not saying all the time, but many a time they do stuff that is beyond the boundaries of accepted morality. So if some agency feels that it is in their nation's interest to befriend a certain mafia person or a terrorist so that their country can be at an advantage, they will do that. They will do that. This happens. This is the norm. What you're speaking about is not an exception. Pannu being a CIA asset, if the CIA feels that they can use Pannu to pressurize India, why not? They'll do it. When I say why not, I don't mean it's good. I'm just saying that they will do it. We should do it too. Who's stopping us? Shakti Kesavan, hello sir, hope you're doing well. Hello Shakti ji. There is a possibility of China invading Taiwan sooner than expected. Should we get involved? As if China does manage to take Taiwan, this is considering the world's dependence on Taiwan semiconductors. It's also pretty obvious that if Taiwan falls, India is next. So Shakti Kesavanji, I do not know the logic of your argument. But whether we get involved or not is something that if China decides to invade Taiwan, I don't know whether we'll get involved or not. I feel we should. Because we've had our problems with China. And if we were in a similar situation, I'm sure China would love to take advantage. China has been funding and arming the insurgent groups and the militant and the terror groups of the northeast of India. They've been doing that for a long time. So China means us harm. Let's be clear about that. And then your question is that if Taiwan falls, it's pretty obvious that India is next. I don't think so. I don't think India is next. Yeah, they can try and attack. But India falling, absolutely impossible. Won't happen. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching this video. And if you like this video, press the like button. Subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to press the bell icon. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram, Bharat Mata Ki Jai.